with adding this. We found that in this one, we should even crib heavier. So we've got a double row of cribs in this one, and we had some unfortunate experiences here with double cribbing. We lost that whole tail. I'll explain right there what we had to do to get around that. But we lost the whole tail entry there. So we know effectively we've got no return. So we have to do other things to get by.
Is there any problem with surface subsidence? Longwall sections where you gave 95% of it in?
Not a problem with it. Depends what area you're mining in, but there is surface subsidence. Yes, sir. Surface subsidence is not. It's not what a lot of people think it is. It becomes uniform. Surface will subside. It will develop a road. The long wall will be out here. You'll see that road develop on the surface. England's got a lot of built-up areas. The mine I worked on a railroad station. And the roll came through the railroad station. And I was under manager, or assistant superintendent, you would call it. The railroad people called me down to look at their railroad station. So I went down there and looked at the railroad station, and there came the train in. They were putting step ladders so the people could get off this train onto the platform, because the platform was just suddenly gone out of sight. But the tracks had stayed hanging. So I said, okay, we were going to have to take some action. We're going to have to do something. 2 weeks later, you wouldn't tell the roll had gone through there. The platform was back level with the tracks, and the people could walk on and off the railroad. We had to build them a new railroad house, with a waiting room, what we call the waiting room. Because the cracks in the wall were so bad, the wind blew through it. It was pretty cold in there. but we had to build them a new building. But the tracks and everything just came back to normal.
Another question I'd like to ask. On production, you were talking about the fact that now, I think in the United States you said we have the production records for longwall section. If you're comparing production, let's say in the United States versus Great Britain or Germany or some of the other countries, how would it compare per man?
Per man?
Per man on the average.
This country is about 10 times higher.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
With the longwall or without it, or is it, what's the reason for it?
Basically because England's down to about 2.5 feet of coal. I worked in 2.5 feet of coal. You talk about crawling, you never crawled. You were actually just roaming along. Because when you got 2.5 feet of coal, and then you put in the 2.5 feet of coal, a roof canopy like this, and a base canopy like this, you ain't got much left for me. That's the result. And you've got to make a lot of passes across that face to equal this kind of production. And England, we thought we were doing pretty good when we got 2 passes a day, and you might only get 100 tons a pass. Doesn't seem. England does operate longer faces, but the face length is very important. Face length is not something that an engineer can come to this country and say, okay, work a long wall here and work it 600 feet long. There's nobody can do that. There's an optimum length for a long wall in every seam. Until you find out what it is, and the only way I can tell you to do it is trial and error. That's the only way I know. You can do all these calculations on roof control and so forth, and I guarantee you'll be wrong. We started out here with 500, we've used 450s, we went to 400 feet because we started getting problems. We stayed at 400 because here's the property line right here. And we came over and went to 534 feet, which we lengthened up. We were trying to find the right face length. Now we went back to 500 feet. We stayed at 500 feet because we have a limited success here. And now we're looking at going back to 450 because right here is where we feel we have this best success. But it's because we've got experience in the field, because we've got experience in the seam, that we're able to say we feel we should go back to less than 500. And this is why I plan it to go back to 450 and stay in that area. It is important to face land. I said before we had pretty good success in this country. This was his main problem, this tail entry. It constantly fell in. We had a single row of cribs in. This one was 0. No cribs. But this one, we'd seen problems developing, so we put one row of cribs right down this. Cribs. Does the ladies know what a crib is? Okay, a crib is a block of wood. It measures 6 by 5 by 48 inches. The crib is built. These big block of wood. You put a crib here and a crib here, and then you lay a 48-inch crib on them. You put another crib here and another crib here, another crib there. And build it up like that to the roof. Try and work it in a perspective. Building what we call, a lot of the miners call it a pig pen. This is hardwood, some softwood. Mainly we use hardwood now. These are built to support the roof. Built on the floor on a solid foundation, and built right up against the roof. They're tight. They're really good support. We built 2 rows of them in this third panel right here, all the way down, prior to starting our wall. And when this machine came off this face, we recovered it and moved it, and hauled it all the way around here. And once again, we had the same problems. The faces fell in. We couldn't hold the face open. So we finally had to move down to this one. See, we did the same thing. We left a small block of coal, like we did here, thinking, well, we'll hold it with a small block of coal. We didn't hold it this time. So we moved back down here, we started here, and we got a face across. And just as the miner got to here, the whole tail end fell. From here to here. And here we were faced with no long wall, because we hadn't got a place where it could go. We had to cut round here to get a bleeder system. And we moved back out, and we came and cut these diagonals across with the miner, 2 of them, a couple of them through. And then we cut down and cut a new tail end to the face. We've got back conditions here, so we can move back and mine up through here, curve around and cut in above us floor. So now we've got established this return entry, which is rather windy, but that's where the return air was now going to go when we set our face here. So we started this face and we mined. And we came to these entries and we mined through them. And at this point right here, we mined more wood than coal. All these were filled with cribs. So this lady I'm talking about here, we filled them solid. You couldn't walk through them. It was solid wood. We tried to replace the coal with wood. And one time we were cutting through 5 entries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We cut more wood than coal. The preparation plant was going stark, staring mad. So what are you guys trying to do to us? Because it plugged up the whole system. We said, well, you're going to have to live with it, fellas, till we get out of this problem we've got. But we did mine through them. We got to this point right here. We just extended our equipment back to the tail entry, and we brought the panel out all the way. Went wrong with that panel. Mind this panel right here, hit a fault right here. The head entry to that point, but what we had to do is stop the tail and just swing the head and mine it around after that. Because at this point we had a fault that the miner couldn't cut. Solid rock. A sudden displacement that occurred in the seam. We want to know about it. We'd never seen it here. We'd never seen it here. Suddenly it showed up. What we didn't have in these entries was a rolling. There was a dip in the seam. And the English term for that is a swilling. We call it a swilling. You go down. But this is developed in this point right here into a complete displacement in the seam. So we swung the face around. This entry right here is what we pre-developed, and it gives us a place to pull his equipment at 2 points. We can pull at this one and at this one. See, we drove to this entry right here. That gave us a place to take all this equipment and take it this way, and all this equipment take it this way. We lost it. We couldn't get to it, so we had to take all our equipment right up to the head. Fortunately, all we had to do was take it and set it right on here to mine this part.
Mr. Jackson, because of the time, I wonder if you could discuss the short wall.
Let me progress to the short wall, which is over here. The reason the short wall came into Federal 1 because of flexibility. The short wall's got something the long wall doesn't have in that it's flexible. It can go around the gas wall block. We mine this first panel. We're mining here, short wall. developed right to this well. We've got to leave around that well, not plug. We can take our equipment off very quickly, take it down here, sit it right here, we mine the coal beside it, pick our equipment up, and go right on. We got to this point, we've got to leave all that coal. We'd already developed the roadway across. Take all our equipment, move it quickly around, and get it set up. That move there took us 3 days. We were back producing coal. All your equipment up here, we move them, we mine to here, we pull all this equipment off, we set it on here. We mine all that coal. We plugged this well. We plugged it with the Bureau. We tried to mine through our pre-development, like I said before, and run into bad conditions because of the pre-mining. We had to abandon and come off, so we took it and set it here. We still mined all that coal, picked it up, mined it. Right now this place is right here. This is developed, we're installing another short wall right here beside us. I've got 1 or 2 slides, and if you don't mind, I'd like to show these slides, because these are short wall slides, and I only got about 10. I took them at Federal One quite a long time ago. Don't tell Jack Tisdale why. What do we say? Conveyors, and if you do use the supports, so you don't leave coal behind you. You get 100% extraction, you're not leaving pillars and stumps and fenders, and wasting the state's natural resource.
Based on what we heard last week, then, it looks like everything's moving towards longwall mining or shortwall mining. What do you think it will end up as longwall or as shortwall?
That's hard to say right now. We've got limited experience with shortwall, and although we like shortwall very much, we also like longwall. I am a little bit prejudiced on longwalls, and I do favour the longwall. But there's a home for the shortwall in the United States. It can be a high producer. It's not realised its full potential yet. There's a home for both. I think there's a home for both types, depending once again on the kind of conditions, the kind of reserves you've got. If you've got reserves like this, or if you've got reserves like that, that's a short wall country, because you can move around the wells. This is why we looked at it. Is there any question? I'm sorry I've overrun the time. I seem to get carried away. I'm like an old Englishman when I talk to them. Has anybody got any questions? For anyone that's... Go ahead.
In lieu of the production and the elements we have, we briefly explain why we're governed by the law, how many of them we are.
Well, we're governed by the United States Bureau of Mines, which is now MESA, Mining Enforcement and Safety Administration. We're governed by the State Department of Mines. The union has got a big influence in our controls, in that they've got a safety department who inspects our coal mines. We have our own company inspectors. They're last but by no means least. In fact, our company inspectors, our own company inspectors, can be more ruthless than the Bureau of Mines and the state. These are primarily the four people that was governed things. If you look at a lot of the federal laws and a lot of the state laws, you'll find that these have been company policies for a long time in this country, but we've never enforced them. And now we've been told we have to. We didn't like it. But what's being done is being done right in this country. I'm not saying this because Mr. Tisdale's here. You look at the English coal mine, and I've been able to compare the English coal mine to the American coal mine. And I don't hesitate to say, when I first came to this country, I would never touch an electric cable in a coal mine unless I could see both ends of it. Because I didn't know that I was going to get electric shock or not. I can go into my coal mine now and get a hold of any cable and not worry. There is a big change taking place. This country's gone through an industrial revolution within the coal mines. The Bureau of Mines made some big steps for us to take. And we complain bitterly. But we've made them steps. We'll make even bigger steps. And you'll find that we won't spend as much money as inspectors pretty soon. Because the coal companies will get a reputation that they will do what they say. And right now they don't have that. I work for Eastern. What I say is I represent Eastern. But there's been times when the coal companies they've had a heck of a stigma on them. always had the reputation that they'll never do anything for the miner, or for the coal miner, the man, but they'll do everything in the world for the machine. That's been true. It's no longer true. I can't speak for Eastman. It's not that way anymore. We are concerned about our coal miners. There aren't coal miners around these days that you can pick up and say, well, I've lost one, I'll get another. I hope I never lose one.
Jackson, we're very grateful.
Thank you.
We appreciate very much your presentation, and I think that all of us enjoyed the opportunity last week and missed to ask a lot of questions, but I think you have others that are probably going to lap over, especially in their safety aspects, into next week. And at that time, we're going to have 3 kinds of presentations on mine safety. First, the spokesman for the Mine Enforcement and Safety Administration, which is the United States government agency enforcing the statutes and the regulations which have been adopted. And then we'll have a coal company safety department and production person. And then we'll have representation from the UMWA Safety Division and possibly local or district officers. And this will be done in series. He'll have an opportunity. And some of the issues which have been presented last week and this have lapped over into safety, as I think the speakers have indicated and the questions have indicated. And we'll be focusing on these safety issues, and I think give you an opportunity to ask you questions and have good discussions. Some of you on the lecture before last, we had copies of the lifestyle article reprinted, and they were up here, but we didn't distribute them as we did the, if anyone missed last week, we have some extra copies of National Coal Association data and a reprint from Encyclopedia on Coal. And some of you may have missed picking up copies of the Lifestyle of the Miner from the first lecture. They're up here for you if you'd like them. Are there any good questions before we adjourn this evening?
Can I mention one thing before we do it, Jim? There's a lot of people in the room that's listening to coal miners talk. And I apologize for the speakers because sometimes it's difficult to talk to a group of people that's never seen a coal mine. If there's any small group out of this that would like to visit a coal mine, and you've only got to contact me, I would make the necessary arrangements, and ladies out included, and I would gladly take a small group of people that's never seen the inside of a coal mine, and you're welcome to go see the inside of Federal Number 1. I can't take large groups, but I can take a small group. It would have to be on a weekend, it would have to be when the mine is idle, but if there's anybody interested, I'm talking particularly about the people that's never seen the inside of a coal mine. I will be only too pleased to. So my time take you to know. That's open to the ladies too.
That's a very important qualification in case some of you don't know that legend or otherwise there are some operations that through mythology don't allow women underground. So
that's right. Federal 1 did have that.
There were a number of years ago when we had real problems when they tried to take this through.
I talked to the committee, and I said it was just a ridiculous taboo. The ladies had equal rights in this country now, and they're now applying for jobs in the coal mine. One day they were going to have to let ladies in Federal 1. The committee said they would bring it up at the next union meeting. The following day they came and said, we talked to the men and said, okay. And that Sunday I took my wife inside. My wife was the first into Federal Number 1 mine.
I've been inside the mine.
Yeah.
And the men were very nice. Nothing happened.
That sounds like my coal mine, nothing.
Thank you again, Mr. Jackson.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Paramedics, instead of restricting their authority, it should be expanded. They should be allowed to do more than they now can do if they're going to actually contribute to relieving the healthcare situation in West Virginia. I'm not saying they should replace the doctor or use substitutes on that. They should complement the doctor. They should be there to help, and they should be allowed more independence of operation. That's the whole point of paramedics. Anything else is just making you service, hospital lackey, something like that. We want men we want professionals. That man's a professional right there. He's not a physician, but he's a professional. That's the kind of men we want. And we're not going to get them. We're going to restrict them so that they can't practice. And our son of us attendants and those who are here going to be, we have lost the grand opportunity to expand health care in West Fairmont. That's what
one of the three state assistant directors of the American Association of Retired Persons. Mr. McGinnis in Lewisburg is the state director, and he is very disturbed about the medical needs of the older people. Now, in our organization, they have to be 55 or older. That's the only requirement. And he finds in the rural areas especially that these people neither can have a doctor or neither do they have the money to pay for medical care. And we have gone around. We went to the clinic over Becker, we went to the clinic at Fairmont. We saw Mrs. Aston at the university. And from there we got the idea that probably this physician assistance is the best means to try to cover medical care in the rural areas. And so we endorse it very much. And that is briefly my statement. I'll try to take more time because we have more important
Thank you very much. On the present for and I'm their medical director of Bedford. And I'd like to address specific issues, if I may respond to another question on the regulations themselves and some of the recommendations that I particularly would like to see come about. Trying to decide whether to read my introductory statement to it or not. I guess I will. Second to it. I feel that the effect of this regulation as presently phrased would be to limit rather than to improve the quality and quantity of health care available, particularly in the physician shortage areas of the state. And for this reason, I respectfully submit my recommendation for a restatement of the regulation. First of all, I feel that a distinction should be made between physicians' assistants, with whom I work, and so-called assistants to physicians, a broader category under the law. The original law mentions assistants to physicians and does not have the extensive educational requirements that a 4-year AMA-approved Class A physician assistant has. But I feel that in order to be certified as a PA, physician assistant, an individual must graduate from an AMA-approved PA program and pass a certifying examination, such as the new national exam for physician assistants. Other people with less training, such as some nurse practitioners, med-ex, and graduates of other programs, Class B, Class C, and such, be subject to other regulations, not only addressing the Class A. Okay, going through the regulations. Section 8, paragraph 01. Employment assistance. I feel that this first paragraph should end at the sentence, such services shall be limited to those which are educational, diagnostic, therapeutic, or preventive in nature, period. Comma, and shall be under the general supervision of a licensed physician. I would add that. Delete the rest of the paragraph, which says that they can't make final diagnosis or treatment plans and can't be delegated prescribing or dispensing drugs. Now, that's not to say that I think PAs ought to prescribe drugs, but I don't think that the rest of that sentence is necessary. I do think that PAs are entirely capable of developing tentative diagnoses and treatment plant. That's what I'd like to do there. Moving on to the requirements for certification, which was addressed earlier by Dr. Anderson. I totally agree with him that section C ought to be deleted. Apparently it was put in as a grandfather clause, and would strip the effectiveness of requiring all this education and training as he outlined. And furthermore, I would change we're on paragraph 8.05, requirements for certification. As I said earlier, to make it require that he has graduated from Class A 4-year school, rather than a general statement that it has graduation from educational and position training program. This doesn't require enough education to do the job. Jumping down to paragraph 8.08, this requires PAs to be responsible for only one position. And my organization is essentially a group A, pre-K group practice, and we have some part-time positions, and we have a need to be able to, when a physician goes on vacation, his PA cannot just stop working. There are patients on his panel, patients who need to be seen, and we would like to be able to shift the responsibility to another physician, like the physician in the group. And I'm afraid this, and I'll forward this to you, Secretary. I would delete the section so there must be responsible for one person, and although the physician assistant shall be certified to be one physician or podiatrist, he or she may be supervised by other licensed physicians or podiatrists if so delegated by the physician or podiatrist because he or she is certified and ultimately responsible. The physician delegates to one of his colleagues, supervisor PA has to respond, and it would certainly help our operation in combination care to our patients. The next paragraph, paragraph 8.09, limiting the scope of duties. I agree with the previous testimony, and that a PA must be able to do complete history to have it involved. And I would delete the last two paragraphs, including the section that they cannot perform these other examinations. At this point, I'd like to refer to the law, the original law of the state of West Virginia, Article 3A, relating to assistance to physicians. Now, the only limitations of scope that are in the actual law are the following. Quote, the medical licensing board shall certify each qualified applicant for employment as an assistant to a physician or podiatrist upon submission of a job description, and shall provide for annual review of certification, and that they will have the power to revoke or suspend the cause for the hearing. Secondly, limitation of scope of duties, assistance to physicians and podiatrists shall not sign prescription or perform any service which his employee physician or podiatrist is not qualified to perform. I think that's fine. I think that's plenty of limitation. I think that, along with an amendment that I would propose that makes the education requirement longer and more extensive, and the national certifying examination. This is enough regulation. The regulations became restrict the law too much and maybe even interpreted as being violation of it.
Okay. Let's say we put a big car dump in here somewhere. Up through here, we've got a big belt line. Okay, now, we've got a long wall we want to run. We put here somewhere, we've got all 3 or 4 heads up to the end. We drop back, we'll leave 400 to 600 feet. Cold. We drive 3 or 4 more. And we connect them in the back. And here's where you set the machine up. You've got a belt here, a big car dump here maybe, or maybe another belt out, depending how you want to go. You've got to, then you put a belt in here, all the way up through here, right along here. You set your long wall equipment up right here. And you start taking off the chunk. That's what these fellows are doing right here. Having trouble running down the face. All these. So you just keep working this back approximately 2 feet at a time, 24-inch cuts, until you get, this may be 5,000, 6,000, could be 10,000 feet long from here to here. Could be any length you want, really. The width could be, like I say, 400 to 600 feet. So these headings, all these headings must be developed with some of the machining. Generally, you use one of these machines. You use either this or you use one of these. Or conventional, it's however you want to, whatever you have, really, whatever you can afford. It's all a matter of economics. Money is all economics. Spend what you have, that's all you spend.
We're going to try to finish this one up. Anybody got any more questions? One of the things you might think about on that last question is that another name they give the long wall in some of the countries is it's an armored, bridge or armored roof. They use that sometimes to indicate the sense that you have of being in a real steel, secure place.
I got in a situation one time running a long wall, operating one. We had some Englishmen. They'd asked me to pass them a spanner. They want a spanner, it wasn't a rubber spanner, that's a wrench. They wanted a beater, they was talking about a hammer. We had a real time for a while.
That is the, as the man said, brings me to telling you about next week's thing, because we're going to have another management person take up next week, and we're fortunate because I think the long wall is more difficult for you to conceive of, in my mind, than if you haven't seen it, than the other machines, which if you see them in the films, you get a sense of them, even though you'd like to see them, in operation. They resemble either something you've seen advancing. Even if they have grabbing arms, you look at them a while and you understand them and you get a sense of them. The long wall, if I can just remind you why you don't get a sense of it, even in the movie, as I watched it, if I hadn't been into long wall situations, both in England and here, you wouldn't have any sense of what it's all about because they don't even show a person in them. If you notice, here you have to look a long while to realize there's a man here. Some of the others, they might have been one, but I'm not sure there were. They would show you the jacks advancing, they'd show you everything like without showing you the people side of it. So I think that if we continue next week on the extraction and move more towards management and training necessities in these various jobs, because that's connected with safety and the preservation of people as well as production. And to do that, we're going to have Mr. Jackson, the Granttown Superintendent for Eastern, and he happens, as I said, you got right onto the right part of the introduction. He happens to have British experience before he came to this country, and therefore he would have had, I would presume, although I haven't talked to him about long wall experience over there, because that's very likely they were ahead of us. While we're bragging about our country and all that it's able to achieve, which is enormous in productivity and mechanical and ingenuity, we also must understand that be a little bit modest and recognize that we really were way behind the rest of the world. Most of the mine-mouth electric generation was not developed by these big full-page ads of the American power companies. They ran full-page ads and raised rates, but they never developed mine-mouth generation. They went over and learned it from the Russians, and they learned it from the Germans. Those people had mine-mouth generators for 25 years while these guys sat here losing the voltage and kept claiming if you transported it on electric lines, you lost it, and all that. And the same thing happened with these long walls. They were really solidly developed, I believe, in Germany and in England before we got them over here. So next week, we're going to be on to a continuation of production issues and on to, we'll get back onto Longwall as part of any comparisons with these to try to answer more questions. Deal more with training as we move the whole management thing forward. I want to thank Mr. Dudek for his presentation, and I think it was extremely well done. It covered a lot of territory for us, and I hope that all of you will be able to attend next week so we can continue this. Some of the people asked me who are taking the course for credit to get a little more definitive on that, and I'd rather not hold up anybody that is not taking it for credit. So if some of you would like to meet for just a couple of minutes, I know Mr. Dudek offered to discuss more here after the class, and Mr. Alvarez has something.
Somebody pointed out to me, everybody who's taking this class gets credit, but you only get, it's optional whether you want to grade or not. So you do get credit for whether you want to grade or not. So in other words, it seems that people want it to be graded.
Okay. Then those who want to talk about it, we said there'd be no exams or grade, but there will be an opportunity to do projects, which will be definitive projects. If anyone was interested in those, I'd like to go over some of the kinds of projects that we can undertake. There won't be examinations, grades for examinations. There will be grades then for the course based on the projects that you undertake. Any questions? If not, we'll meet again next week, and those of you that want to see us about the grade situation.
For the first, for your nursing program, for your rad tech, for your med tech, and now for the program. We have assistant instructors with some of our own PA graduates in that. With me, I have brought a copy of the subcommittee's draft on essentials of the education system, and that was established with the group representing all the many people that were involved. And at that time, most of you doctors know who they all were. The approval came out in September of '72, and this is the latest for Chicago. The first 17 educational programs carrying assistance for primary care physicians have been formally accredited by the American Medical Association of Medical Education. The action was taken in collaboration with the American Academy of Family Physicians, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Physicians, and the American Society of Internal Medicine. These programs meet or exceed the essentials of an approved educational program for the assistant for primary care physicians, which were established by the parent organizations and approved by the AMA last December. The programs.
What is the basic program?
As the law stated, in the way I call it in simple terms, it gave the physician permission to employ a person with this particular training to be as assistant with a job description which would fit that boy's or girl's training and the position was employed. The guidelines, the first time, to fit into it, they were various little things, wearing their coats, wearing their pins, and to be definitely under the position. They are to be certified, not licensed, and therefore to be always be under the direction of the physician. Now it's for, I don't know their reasons, but our program is so much elevated, we think, to some of the regulations that came to us that they're comparing like little things and big things and putting them all in one thing and bringing all the big things down to the little guy. And that's when our program was accepted. And I'm sure some of these others, there's some Muslims, person here, maybe some others, I don't know. Those who have this high training want to be considered a physician's assistant, not a medical aid. There are those various fields, especially ordinary aid is a wonderful person in the hospital. We couldn't get along without. That's not the classification.
Let me painfully apologize for referring to the I'm notorious for using measures because the thing is PAs, that's all the place and you can blow it out on positions of safety, so you do those and use the rest.
Institute of Health came out with a number of categories of physician's assistants. And I'd like to elaborate on what a Class A physician's assistant is. The Allison Broadus is a Class A approved school, from what I understand, as is the University of Oklahoma. Now, what this means is this. The Type A assistant is capable of approaching the patient, collecting historical and physical data, organizing the data, and presenting them in such a way that the physician can visualize the medical problem and determine appropriate diagnostic and therapeutic steps. In other words, he can take a history and a complete physical, and this includes whatever is necessary at that time. He is also capable of assisting the physician by performing diagnostic and therapeutic procedures and coordinating the roles of other more technical assistants. This means that he can, for example, a physician's assistant can do a bone marrow examination, okay, or a lumbar puncture, or a proper sigmoidoscope. I'm just elaborating my
We
training.
understand you're presenting the criteria that you have there.
Right.
And maybe subject to debate or challenge.
Okay. And this includes functioning as a first assistant surgeon. And I'm elaborating more towards the University of Oklahoma because these were the procedures that I did. I don't want to get into saying that we do all these things as a shock tactic. But these are the things that we did do under direction, direct supervision of the physician. While he functions under the general supervision and responsibility of the physician, he might, under special circumstances and under defined rules, perform without the immediate surveillance of the physician. He is thus distinguished by his ability to integrate and interpret findings on the basis of generalized medical knowledge to exercise a degree of independent judgment. This means, the way I interpret it, is the way the University of Oklahoma interprets it, and I as a physician's assistant interpret it, that the physician does not have to be in the same room or the same building. This is from the Board of Medicine of the National Academy of Sciences classified physician's assistants according to the degree of specialization and levels of competence achieved. Now, you asked the question, sir, as to who determined whether you could do these procedures and why. At the University of Oklahoma, you were given a checklist of procedures. And after you had performed that procedure adequately, you would then, the person who was watching you do this examination gave you a grade. Okay. At the end of the entire program, we had a thorough examination, and this included physicals and historical information. It basically is that whatever, the physician can delegate to you what your training is allowing you to do. Now, we are not physicians, and this is, I think, where there's a lot of misunderstanding. We are basically gatherers of data, interpretation of that data, and presenting that to a physician so he knows what he's doing.
All right. We have a mail order, but we secure a list of this break.
We have models. They learn all this from models the same as the university does. They learn patients, and then they have to supervise them. But they have learned what we say they've learned. And it makes them feel like they have been lower than what they're capable of doing. Not compared to the they're not as much service to the physician, and they're not happy.
They were a brief and not over in church or a priest. I don't think there are deliberations commonly perceived. I think these issues are of vital importance to the citizens of West Virginia. The outcome of these deliberations may play a significant role in shaping future patterns of healthcare, or even by model perhaps elsewhere. I think to try to compress them, I think there are two numbers. First issue is how to understand and serve the best interests of the people of the state. The second issue is the question of professionalism, the nature of professional activity in the state, which is a function of the legislature and its committees, and the control of them. What is the first issue? How to serve the best interests of the people of the state. I don't believe there's any quarrel that people need primary medical service. By primary medical service, I mean ease of access to the first point of contact, and what we hope is a comprehensive system of care. I personally believe we have magnificent ideal of the state of medical care, and in my view, very responsive medical center model. This is the top of the pyramid. I think we have equal and near equal capability in terms of specialized services. Most of our large and medium self-service. The weakness in our system is that, however, at a very vital point, it's the point of entry. And that's the foundation. Weaknesses of the foundation are not those of West Virginia alone. They're common to the country at large. The weaknesses are per capita. There has been a diminution of an increase in primary medical services in that context. A fantastic increase in demand for medical services, and hopefully the ability of ordinary citizens to pay for primary. The physician system concept is obviously not the only one, the only approach. But I think it's a very appropriate and effective approach to it. If it can be stimulated and supported. It wasn't born in West Virginia, this concept, but it certainly was nurtured here. And I think we ought to be proud of it. We ought to support our creations. The issue, therefore, is how to provide primary first point of contact service to people to enter into the medical care system. And that involves training the people of the capability, the ability to make important decisions as to what route an individual with complaint or problem will go. Is his problem not as real as he perceived? Is it worse than he perceived? Does he not perceive the nature of his problem? Does he not have it? I'm convinced from working with physician assistants in the poetry program that they are capable of making these decisions. If they are given the support in terms of prerogative to develop the factual information how to make those decisions. What route is this individual take? That's what primary medical service is all about. We're not getting at, I think the West Virginia University efforts in primary care ought to be applauded and supported. We're not posing this as antithetical. But knowing how difficult it is, what our need is, how difficult it is to locate these in practice situations, to say nothing of rural practice situations, in any practice situation. I think we ought to let as many flowers bloom in this situation as possible. Another issue of equal importance, and I think why this has become controversial, the issue of professionalism. I'd like to digress a little more into the history of professionalism. Professionalism was not always in us. I think professionalism came into American medicine in the early years of the century with the Flexner Report. The Flexner Report, in essence, was a consensus agreement to bring medical education into scientific context, resulting in the closing of many medical schools, which were simply apprenticeships for the most part, or reflective institutions.
early age of the century. It affiliated medical training to university level, the largest medical, some non-affiliated schools, but they still do. And it did professionalize the medical practice and position in the United States to a great extent. But what you must understand about the Flexner Report, its implications, what it has done, is that at the time of the Flexner Report, and all that flowed from it, this was a professionalism of generalists, general practice, and a general physician dominated medicine. And now, 60 years or so after the Flexner Report, we are a professional specialist, regardless of what we're called. The implications of this are, I think, very serious for us all when determining what is a professional issue here, issue professional control. I'm licensed in the state of West Virginia. My license says I'm licensed to practice medicine and surgery. I no longer belong to the operating department. There's a parking lot thing now. Likewise, the man who's doing major surgery no longer has no more business reading electrocardiogram than the parking lot. Our statutes and our system of controls have not caught up with the fact that we're professional specialists, as well as the courts. And with various techniques, which are on the agenda, recertification, peer review, and so forth, we're eventually going to get there. And all I'm asking is that on the road, we not lose sight of the fact that the people need general medical services. They need primary care. The existence of specialism has been a boon to mankind. It's involved us with the wherewithal to treat, to diagnose, to manage the most complex, to perform the most complex medical tasks. But our social arrangements still have to be provision of primary medical services so that people can get into the system when they need it. And I feel, given those historical, it behooves the people who have the power in this state and elsewhere to see to it that they not lose sight of the fact that we must have a first-line defense of people's health. The physician system concept is a brilliant answer to this problem. Now, someone made reference to, I think Mr. Victor very eloquent, reference to the fact that there was a problem beyond his comprehension. He has a structured means to regard it, because he is operating in a system of professional control. Well, some of our MDs in the state of West Virginia don't have any structured means. There's a problem beyond their comprehension. There is no system of control that affects them. Sooner or later, I think there will be. The physician assistant program, if given the right impetus and push and support, can answer those twin needs, namely the need for rational entry into the medical care system, availability of service, and a structured means of determining what an individual is capable of doing, which we don't have at the present time. You get a licensed practice medicine, and you have to be extremely efficient in the function. And I'm not talking about West Virginia, but the countries all over, to have that challenged properly. What the physician assistant program then accomplishes, if given the proper legislative support, is the ability for us to help solve our problems of distribution of primary medical services and to rationally organize a system of professional control. It doesn't exist.
I think that Dr. Hunter's statement on the nature of professional need very, have I got this right?
We don't need it for concrete. I was taking notes about working
to this the professionals all have a different need. I have a physician's assistant. I've had
hospital administrator. I am the chief of surgery there for all of them. And with the nursing supervisors operating rooms, they were all very interested. Nobody wanted to try it first because of the implications and because I think that the failure of education of the people, physicians, and so forth and so on, it hasn't been quite well understood. But I'm happy to say now that we do understand that we haven't had any difficulty. And for my professional need, I'm very happy with our physician system. It's been very warmly received in the hospital in all circles, and we have not had any difficulty at all. We have thus far gone strictly by the regulations that have been set down by the Board of Medical Examiners. That may be the reason that we're happy, I don't know. Some of these regulations, and then I'm going to get into it, have been, according to this trend, which Mrs. Myers covered, and has been very well. I can see that. Every day that I live and work with this young man, I know that I can change things. Now, I can't say in my particular case that I would be happy if he did a single topic examination on his own. You see? But I mean, these are as we go. But we have said, after this rather extensive training, and if you have not gone over this, sir, I wish you all would. It has been very good. We've gone into 8105 requirements for certification under Regulation Physician Assistant Section 8. We have designated, so far as physician assistants training, what it should be under A and B. They've gone these 4 years, they're very happy with their training, their physicians are happy with it, and then we come along under the requirements for certification and state under Part C, other applicants as deemed qualified by the board. Now, I'm making recommendations that be stricter because when we have an RN, of course they are licensed, and physician assistants aren't. They're certified. When we have an RN, we don't say that anybody that's this board thinks that would be an RN to be one of them. It would be my recommendation that be stricter. And this leaves these people who are educated to do this their dignity. Nobody wants to know that they've gone to college 4 years to learn a specific thing, which is going to be a specialty within itself. And then find out that John Doe, who thinks he can do the same thing. That's the other point here. I think the chief thing that brings us here this evening, as far as I can tell, and we've been beating around the bush all over the place, is 8.09 under Regulation of Physician Assistant. States under paragraph 3 of the limitations that rectal, pelvic, cystoscopic, etc., and so on. Now, these examinations cannot be repeated, so they are trained to do rectal and pelvic examinations. They know how. My physician's assistant, due to these regulations, goes with me. He does rectal treatment. He's been invited and been taught on the spot by me, and I know he knows the board. What goes into doing a decent pelvic examination? This doesn't mean that I'm going to take him and say, now I'm going off next week, you're going to be here by yourself, and I'm going to